Labour's proposed devolution revolution, aimed at streamlining local government in England, threatens to significantly alter the financial landscape and service provision for numerous communities. This ambitious restructuring, spearheaded by Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner, envisions a radical merger of numerous small district and county councils, ostensibly to improve efficiency and service delivery. However, the practical implications, particularly for financially distressed councils and their neighboring areas, raise serious concerns. The plan's impact extends beyond mere administrative changes. It carries substantial financial repercussions. The letter from Devolution Minister Jim McMahon to affected authorities explicitly states that local authorities will be responsible for managing their debt, even suggesting that reorganization, including mergers, could be a means of achieving necessary efficiencies. Crucially, McMahon's letter explicitly rules out any central government intervention to alleviate council debt or write off existing liabilities. This leaves neighboring councils, potentially financially sound, vulnerable to shouldering the burden of their distressed counterparts. The consequences of this approach are potentially severe. Residents in areas bordering financially troubled councils could face significant increases in council tax and reductions in essential services. This financial burden arises from the need to absorb the debts and liabilities of the failing councils as part of any merger. The absence of a central government bailout mechanism leaves neighboring authorities with limited options, forcing them to compensate for the financial mismanagement of others. The implications are already evident in specific cases. Surrey County Council, for instance, recently appealed to the government to cancel £1 billion in debt owed by Woking Borough Council to facilitate a proposed merger of Surrey's 12 local authorities. This illustrates the scale of the financial challenges involved and the pressure exerted on financially stable councils to absorb the liabilities of their failing neighbors. The situation is further complicated by the involvement of other councils facing severe financial difficulties. Thurrock Council, burdened by £1.5 billion in debt resulting from failed investment strategies, and Nottingham City Council, which effectively declared bankruptcy in 2023, are. These cases highlight the systemic nature of the financial crisis affecting local government and the potential for widespread disruption. The proposed mergers, while aiming for efficiency, risk creating a domino effect where the financial instability of one council destabilizes neighboring authorities. The lack of a clear mechanism for managing the financial fallout from mergers leaves local communities vulnerable to significant tax increases and service cuts. This raises questions about the fairness and equity of the proposed devolution revolution, particularly for those residing in areas neighboring councils facing financial distress. The absence of a central safety net casts a long shadow over the plan's practicality. While the aim of streamlining services is laudable, the approach of forcing financially sound councils to absorb the liabilities of bankrupt neighbors seems deeply unfair and potentially unsustainable. The potential for social unrest and political backlash is significant, especially given the lack of transparency and community involvement in the decision-making process. Critics argue that the Labour government's approach avoids addressing the underlying causes of council bankruptcies. Instead of focusing on effective financial management, fiscal responsibility, and preventative measures, the proposed mergers seem to prioritize a top-down solution, ignoring the unique circumstances of individual councils and the potential consequences for residents. The lack of alternative strategies to address the financial crisis in local government raises concerns about the long-term effectiveness and equity of this devolution revolution. The situation in Surrey, with its proposed merger involving a £1 billion debt cancellation request, serves as a stark warning. If the government refuses to address the root causes of council debt and instead forces mergers without sufficient financial support, the consequences could be widespread and devastating. The potential for increased council taxes and reduced services could disproportionately affect vulnerable communities, exacerbating existing inequalities. The fundamental question remains: Is merging councils a genuine solution, or simply a way to shift the burden of financial mismanagement from one set of authorities to another? Without addressing the core issues driving council bankruptcies, poor financial planning, inadequate oversight, and potentially unsustainable spending commitments, the devolution revolution risks exacerbating existing inequalities and creating further instability within the local government system. The focus should be on preventing future crises, not merely shifting the burden of existing ones. A thorough review of local government financing, enhanced transparency, and robust oversight mechanisms are crucial for preventing future instances of financial distress and ensuring the long-term sustainability of local services. Simply merging councils without addressing these fundamental issues is a short-sighted approach, likely to yield undesirable consequences for